Welcome to 1340 AM, Home Schoolhouse Radio here in Monterey Bay. I'm here with my son Malachi, brother Dan, to my business partners Nigel and Ted. We're going to talk a bit about how Web3, blockchain, crypto, DeFi, metaverse, whatever you want to call it, how it's impacting friendships today. That's our topic, the impact of technology on friendship. So, Nigel, what's your thoughts on how distributed ledger tech and this whole world is making an impact on friendship right now?
I think it's so powerful because, well, first, I think friendships in general will happen outside of technology. I think the technology is there to enhance it, and we should use it to bridge gaps in between the times that, you know, the time zones, the time frames, the locations, the geography. Certainly do that. I also believe that we should be doing this responsibly, that we don't prioritize geography over the actual value of what it is. Like, unless there's an emergency, I don't know geography should prevent you from doing something or make you make a decision that just for convenience, especially when it comes to something like friendship. Like, you think about, like, let's just use falling in love, for example, right? Does it matter how far if you find the right person, does it matter where they live? You know, you can figure it out if that's your person. But if you're just going to go, well, I need somebody within 3 blocks of where I am, and here's this app, and, you know, I drop a pin, good, done. Like, it, you know, you get into it, what you put out, like all of AI, you know, garbage in, garbage out. So that's where I think about it.
You went into the super deep friendship sector on that one.
I got a big
Only one I know.
Yeah.
On the thought of it doesn't matter where somebody's at. Yeah, I met my wife in Asia. I've been going to the Philippines now for 18 years. First time I went there 18 years ago, I was a missionary. The last dozen trips have been for technology. I helped co-produce a bunch of technology events, blockchain events in this regard. I met my wife there at one of my events, 2023. And just as Nigel said, it doesn't matter if she lives in Manila, Philippines. It doesn't matter if I live in Santa Cruz, California. We made it work, and then we got married, and she moved here with our youngest son, and of course Malachi and my other son Kenton. And we have a family, the 5 of us now, and we just had our immigration approved. So my wife and our youngest son have their green card.
Congratulations.
I don't know if blockchain had anything to do with it, but I know blockchain conference brought us together.
No, it did, because I think I remember talking with you about that in something having to do with the license system.
We were the first. We were one of the first to get married on the blockchain.
But the state of Utah,
yeah, the state of Utah,
yeah,
we got married in
brought marriage
Utah.
licenses.
It's on the blockchain, yeah.
Death certificates and birth certificates, and they are an innovating state. They are the ones who have decided to take that to the first step, and it makes sense because Utah's that kind of a little mysterioso kind of state in the middle of our country that, you know, the culture is a little bit different than the rest of the country, I guess you would say, but they've adopted the and what a great place to start, right?
Yes,
birth certificate, death certificate, and then marriage licenses. What a great three piece to transition into this documentation into the Web3 and blockchain. I thought that was
that also highlights an old technology of the whole democracy and the way we set up a federal system and a state system, so that we have Utah that can innovate and do this stuff, and then we, you know, when the system works right, we can watch Utah and see if it works well, and see if it fails. And if it fails, only Utah gets screwed, not the whole nation, you know. And we can innovate it with a lot less resources because you're only doing it in Utah.
The majority is waiting for the proof case to go through. And, you know, so 80% or better of everything that we do where it's not necessarily a fear factor. It's just I'm more comfortable when I see the proof go through. When I hear my friends from far away start mentioning something, and then when I hear my friends closer start mentioning that, and then when I hear my family members and those that are so close to me start mentioning that subject, okay, I'm ready to, I think I'm ready to adopt. I'm ready to start pushing that call to action button. I'm ready to start, looking into what is this blockchain and what is the Web3 that is happening now. You're in it, whether you know it or not. The speed that it's evolving, that is also Web3. I mean, that's its own subject in itself that we can't really put into a box. Talk about the speed, but it's all part of it. So we're growing.
Yes, we are.
We're growing.
We went through something similar when we got married, Ian. Back, we've been married, a while.
Yeah. Reframe that, my
He's
brother.
talking about him and Sandra. Although
Me and Sandra, we got married. Not Ian and I. Ian and I are not married. That never worked out.
Maybe I heard. I heard. My mistake.
I was already taken.
Let me.
I met Sandra, my wife, in Portugal, and we had to innovate to get married because, the older a country is, the more complicated its bureaucracy. So it turned out there was a lot of bureaucracy to get married in Portugal for American. So we innovated and we went to Gibraltar, where it's very easy to get married. And we got married there legally and then had the church wedding in Portugal.
Well,
Nice.
with blockchain technology, the first real impact has been on decentralized finance. And so one of the ways this is impacting friendships is people are sharing with others something that gains traction, gets value in the world. For instance, if your friend told you about Bitcoin 15 years ago and you acquired a dozen or hundreds or maybe thousands of Bitcoin because your friend convinced you like this is the future currency, like this, every fiat currency like the US dollar has come and gone over history. Bitcoin's going to last forever. And they convince you of it. And you say, okay, I got $10 to lose. I got $1,000 to lose. And you buy a dozen or 1,000 Bitcoin. Well, that made a big impact on that friendship. Today, it's real. Today, people are unbanked. They have no ability to have a bank account, to have money. They go to places to basically get their paycheck in advance. They lose 5%, 30% of their paycheck every single 2 weeks because of the system that's kind of rigged against them. And somebody shows them and goes, oh no, you can have a Phantom wallet and Solana. You can have a base wallet on Coinbase or a fully decentralized MetaMask wallet. And in that wallet, you can own USDC or USDT, an alternative to fiat currency that's digital, or you can own Ethereum, or you can own Bitcoin. And all of a sudden, somebody starts to actually look into this, and now they become, quote unquote, banked.
Out of necessity.
And now, what do they think about the friend that told them that? They think, wow, that person
Is a better friend.
is a better friend.
Yeah. And it's starting to enter into the best realm.
They love that friend.
Oh yeah. We're close.
Definitely.
There is, the word evangelist has been expanded outside of the faith environment. A guy that's really well known locally in Santa Cruz, Guy Kawasaki, he was the first quote unquote evangelist that I know of at a tech company.
Yeah.
He was Steve Jobs' evangelist for Steve's Mac team when Steve came back from Next. And that changed the environment of what we think of as an evangelist. So a lot of companies will have an evangelist, like my friend Emerson. He's the principal evangelist over at Alexa. So he's the number one guy that's responsible for evangelizing Alexa.
What do you mean by evangelizing?
Telling the good news, sharing, being a promoter.
It is a friendly product.
Yeah, it's being a promoter. Now, the reason I mention it is one of the first people that, or maybe the only person that's like really known clearly of the disciples to be an evangelist was John's brother, Andrew. You can see this in the TV show, The Chosen, or if you're a student of the sacred scriptures, you may know of the story. Andrew sees Jesus, sees what's going on. He starts running around telling everybody. He goes and grabs his brother, I think, Peter, and he goes and grabs. So he goes and kind of tells the good news. And how did that impact everyone that Andrew went and shared with, right? How did it impact people? How did that impact Andrew's relationship with people? And so a lot of times people, not that technology or blockchain or Web3 is in any way a messiah or a savior, but certainly it can make a big positive impact on people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are to evangelize, if we are to share the good news of decentralization, the good news of decentralized technology, there is a potential of really making a positive impact. Now, on the flip side, there's always a potential of making a very detrimental and negative impact. So if we are to promote something that in our mind we have all this data and we think this is going to be great, like this meme coin is going to go ballistic, or this digital asset, this crypto collectible, this NFT, this is going to be amazing. Like anybody that buys this, they're going to be so grateful they bought it now. And then all of a sudden the tide turns, crashes 99%.
It turns into gambling.
So there is a speculative, a gambling-esque element, collectible fervor element to this as well. And, it's possible for Bitcoin to become a big bubble and to have burst. It hasn't, and it doesn't seem as it's ever going to, but a lot of people that did promote it, there were times where they thought it was a bubble because it dropped 80, 90%. Mm-hmm. So we always want to be thoughtful that even though we can make a positive impact on people's lives, maybe we don't want to promote any specific asset. Maybe we shouldn't be promoting Ethereum or Solana or Bitcoin or this NFT or that NFT or this meme coin. Maybe we should be more focused on promoting the technology, the automation, to own your own keys, to own your own wallet, to look into things, to only invest money that you can afford to lose, and then to figure out, well, how does this actually impact friendship in terms of connection? Discord was a massive element when it came to connection. I know that for Dan and Nigel and myself, we spent a ton of time in Discord channels.
It's
over
a
the
great
last
tool.
5 years. Absolutely.
I just the fact that it can hold so much storage, I found in incredible, thing. Inserting Google Docs or something in there, I was always worried about overloading my storage on whatever I purchased on my last digital product, and so that was always in mind. Do I need to buy cloud? Do I need to And then as I'm using up whatever I've got. So where is this going to go? But there's great platforms that let you put your documents into there, and they will have a lot of storage for you. So
thank you for joining us here at 1340 AM KOMY. Home of Schoolhouse Radio. We'll be back again in just a moment.